Hello, everybody, and welcome to Freedom Friday. I'm joined with a woman who has played so many roles in my own experience, including what you're seeing right now, this whole Freedom Friday thing. So thank you so much for being you, and we'll tap into all the angles that she brings to my experience in the world. But one of the main reasons I wanted you with me today is because of this concept of wise, wild, and free, which is at the essence of all of our beings. And I'm just going to start. So this is Alyssa Pfennig, and I was looking at your bio, and a few words really stuck out. That one of your passions is guiding mothers, in particular women and mothers, to face their shadow and embrace their spiritual transformation. So I love, and I think it kind of goes to some of our before recording conversation, that sometimes we can get stuck on our path when we forget that one of the most important pieces of our process is bringing in, accepting, loving on, and facing all the different pieces of ourselves. This keeps coming up in so many different ways through these conversations, and I think you embody multiple levels through what you're bringing, even something that you just said. So before I go on tapping into that, I mean, just what comes up to share with your experience of mothers and wise, wild, and free and all of that?
So, I always worked with women, but when I became a mother, I realized how much comes up to deal with when you become a mother.
Yes.
I had no concept of that before. You just don't know unless maybe you work with mothers and that sort of stuff. But when you are a mother, whether you actually birth a child or you carry one, whatever level, because everyone's a mother, whatever experience they are, and some people everyone has mother and energy. But what I realized was there is so much of the unresolved trauma, the unprocessed emotions that come up. And I was listening today and was reminded of the spiral of the healing process, because I had done a lot of healing work myself, which probably set me up, or I guarantee it set me up for being aware that these were all coming up. Didn't mean they suddenly went away and I didn't have those suffering things that I had to process, but I was aware that, wow, there's a lot of stuff coming up, and I understand this is a transformation. What do I do about it? And so as I worked through my own, and still am working through, and kind of healing those wounds that come up, watching those patterns, really digging deep, because I've done a lot of ancestral medicine work and stuff too. And going, like, some of this isn't mine. Some of this is playing out from generational patterns. Some of this is
you're continuing your lineage.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So when you're continuing the lineage, it's like all of that rises up. Like, we're not going to pass this along.
Yep, breaking the cycle.
Yeah, chills.
Yeah. And breaking the cycle is one of the hardest things to go through, but it's one of the most beautiful things too, because it's a gift to your child and your grandchildren and so on, as well as to yourself.
Your inner children.
Yeah, as well as to yourself, and even to your family, your parents and grandparents before. So it's all of that work, that whole facing the shadow and stuff is really amazing work. And it's that whole healing the wounds is, and to actually be aware that that's happening and going through that, and rather than I'm just suffering, but being aware that, okay, this suffering is some sign, some message. And I remember coming to you as a patient, and I was just like, I understand this is all happening. I understand it's a energetic level too. I'm working through this in various different ways. But you were the one to tell me, like, you're ready to level up. Like, this is that whole leveling up. And it's sort of like you're coming up to hit that wall, and it's time to break through. So here I personally breaking cycles, but ready to also break through to another level within myself. And so that's why I'm seeing, mothers you're not only dealing with all that coming up, if you're aware of it, you're dealing with being a mother and taking care of children and everything else. So, so how do you find that wisdom or embody that wisdom and find that freedom again, that sort of stuff in a different way? And I want to share that. And that's,
yeah. So again, to go back to wise, wild, and free, because as we are facing these experiences, and it's spirals and layers, and sometimes we may be more in depth in a stickier, darker, deeper layer than others. The key with everything, whether you want to call it yin yang or the law of complementarity. So if you have the intensity of this experience, that experience itself holds its solution right there. Everything you need, all the wisdom you need to break through, all the tools you need to break through. So there's like the piece of it of being present in the process and allowing yourself to experience the emotions and anything else that's coming up, but also having the awareness of, what else is showing up to guide me, for next steps. So one of the things that I've really seen, so I have 4 children. I have, my youngest is 5, and then I have a 10-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 16-year-old. And all of them, that's one of the things I really started to open up to when I began this practice, is at the highest level, spirituality is the parent-child relationship. Like, we really choose each other for a reason, and we're exquisite mirrors for one another. So our children are constantly showing us what we need to work on and calling us out. And as Josephine becomes more verbal, it's going to get really direct. Like, cut it, mom. I know what you're up to. So it's been very interesting too for me, as I have all these different age spans, to see what nuggets of, like you were saying, of my own trauma may come out as I witness them. And then they play it out in a way that I have to look at, like with my son in particular, when some of these things have come out, I get so triggered. It's like I'm 12 years old again. So this was probably the most intense experience I went through, was 2 years ago with him. And I'm like, oh no, we're not going through this again. So it's like, here's what we're going to do. And then he gets sick and all these other things happen because he was showing me, no, I'm not you. He's like, I just am having this little thing that's coming up in me, and I really need you, and this kind of goes back to something else you were saying, to hold space for it, to just be a compassionate presence. And I'm going to get over it in a hot minute, and I'm not going to have 4 years of, serious issues related to this. So that too, it's like, okay, to be able to navigate what I need to do for myself is that little child in me comes up to be healed, and how to connect with and presence my own little dude who's like, I don't need to do it the way you did it. So many different levels to open up to that can take you from a place of like complete chaos and craziness as a mother and feeling like, I don't know what to do, where you can flip it and start to see all the layers of opportunity and the gifts and the wisdom for healing. I would love for you to speak to how you've been navigating this for yourself and how you work with mothers.
Sure. So I was thinking about this today. Like, so when we think of the feminine and masculine, like energies, we live in a very masculine world, called patriarchal, whatever. But like, as a mother, we can embrace that way of feminine being and change, and the masculine is the external part, and change the way that we actually operate and mother, like, in the world. And so one of the things that I've been doing is, I don't want to do the same things, like, you're supposed to work full time and then take care of your kids for 2 hours at night, and then you're exhausted and you go to sleep, and and that's sort of the way of the world, especially in the US. And I never wanted that. And I've had to navigate myself because I'm also a type A, prone to workaholism kind of person, like, to live in a different way. And that is on an energetic level, embodying the feminine and living in a different masculine way, I guess. And so it was like, okay, I want to do something different. So I've always worked part-time or less and for myself, so that I'd have that flexibility to be with my daughter. But there's also the layers of, are you multitasking? We've talked about that before. And sometimes that's hard not to, do things when you're, but really trying to be present and realize, okay, I'm doing this, and then I can do this. I'm cooking dinner, and even speaking with your child about, I'll take care of you or participate with me, and trying to be mindful of that. And it's not always perfect. It's always keep trying sort of stuff. And also, how are my days going? And one of the things of just rearranging my life so that my priority is time with my daughter and being with her. And I've been lucky enough to see all of her milestones. She's starting to say words now. She's 2, and she's talking at the store. She said yoga the other day. She said shaman when we were watching Pachamama the other day, and that sort of stuff. And I'm just like, she's totally seeing, I'm raising her in a different way and trying to mother in a different way. Not, yes, in the parenting way, like a gentle parenting type of way, but in the way I arrange my day and the things we do together as well. So that's where I kind of talk about, I'm trying to embody that feminine in my mothering, but the external world, or what would be considered the masculine, is instead of just going to work all day, not everybody has that. Well, we can talk about that even deeper. Not everybody has that luxury, but it is a decision to create your life in that way. And that was a priority for me. So that was a big way that I did it. Like, I want this as priority. How can I do that? And I'll try it this way. No, that's not working. I'll try it this way. Oh, that's not working. So it's kind of a refinement, but
Refinement.
yeah.
So I love that. So we were talking about that, the concept of metal, the Chinese elements is from metal.
I'm a
and
metal monkey.
structure, right? And I'm going to try making a couple leaps here, but metal element is the lung and the large intestine. These are organ systems that need clear structure, right? You got to breathe, you got to go to the bathroom, right, in order to receive. But you can't be anal retentive, and you can't hold your breath, and not every single breath, every single bowel movement is going to be completely different for a lot of different reasons. So it's like these organ systems, this element has to be really hyper responsive. Like, we have to have a clear structure, but we have to be so tuned in and aware to know when there's might be subtle or massive changes. So that's another gift of metal. So yeah, it's cool to hear you say that, but it's really important in this society. Yeah. Because one of the things that I've also experienced is I'm constantly shifting and changing my practice for various different reasons and alignments with what's happening across the street at my house and here, is refining the structure and knowing that we need the masculine, we need the feminine, we need the yang, we need the yin, we need the alpha, we need the omega. We need to have the structure that that claims and defines our, whatever it is, as a parent or whatever practice we're doing. But the feminine side of it, the yin side of it, is that flow that can even be there within the structure. And I think that's part of the evolution that we're being pushed to, is like, we've had a story that it has to be like you were saying, like it has to look this way. And one of the things I've witnessed, I think because of COVID kind of popping the top off of like, okay, what if traditional business could look differently? There's, I know for sure my husband's business that had been a very traditional business, they've realized that, like, wow, we were wasting a lot of time with the way we were running the show. And when we reframe how we do it and can do more things in this framework, we actually can save money and save time, and people are less stressed out.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's like everything is kind of setting us up to take these new leaps. So this is like a deeper level of that, of really owning it for yourself. Like, okay, that's great that, my job's allowing me more flexibility. Well, don't just fill that up with other things. Claim that space. This is mine. No one else can come into this. This is mine. This is my special time for me. This is my time for, being with my kids. Yeah. Well, and same special time for you. Spending time with your body is really important, and making time as a mother, as a woman, as a man, whatever. But especially as a mother, we feel like we run out of time. I mean, like today, I was thankful I got a shower this morning and woke up before my daughter, so that I could get ready. But it's just like, but stopping. Sometimes I don't get this extra time, but sometimes during nap time I do.
or in the evening, but I go to bed early too.
Mhm.
So, finding that time of, when do we touch our body? Like that sort of stuff. Putting lotion on, oil, that sort of thing. I've been putting ginger oil. I did cinnamon one night. I like ginger better. On my feet at night and those sort of things. But like really, and being in touch and sitting with our body, and really listening. That's where the wisdom can arise, and we don't often think about that. And I've been doing. You'll appreciate this. I purchased a Chinese pediatric massage.
Yeah, I
book
recognize.
that's
I saw you
Trina.
put that on there. Yeah, I have that for you. I know it.
So, Dr. Viva Rome had recommended it in one of her natural healthy living books for kids, and I thought, oh, perfect. So I've been doing that for her because she wakes up in the night sometimes crying, just once in a while, and so just
I'm going to pause you because I think this is really profoundly important. So what you're speaking to, right, is that as mothers, whether you have a kid or not, you're a nurturer. It's very easy for us to look at how we may nurture our parents, our partners, our friends, our loved ones, how we nurture our children, right? And we know that to survive and thrive, we need to have that level of connection and nurturance. But do you give that to yourself?
Yeah.
Right?
I have to be conscious of it.
And if we want to go to this, if we want to do this leveling up thing, we have to give that to ourselves because that's the only way you're going to be able to listen to that wisdom within.
It's so true.
To give yourself that space to create that connection. And it's such a compassionate space to be in, to be like, okay, I'm going to nurture me, and remembering that this doesn't come from a place of selfishness because all the energy that you're putting out there, whether it's in your work or with your kids, is coming from you. And there'll be more of you, more deeply connected, even more energetically conservative, because when you come from that grounded, centered place, it's like you're more clear with how you're going to take action instead of like,
and that is so true. And I was listening to my favorite author today, and she was like, have a date with your body every day. And I was like, that's so true. And so I practice a lot of oil massage. I have to be careful. I don't want my daughter to come grab me and I'm covered like with herbal oil. So I might only do my belly or, that, or my face and that sort of stuff. And she loves it, and she'll touch it and be like, oh, what's that? And I put on her too, but when I have those quiet moments that I can actually have a shower without, but now she's getting to a point where she's can occupy herself, thankfully. But anyone who's a mother understands that sometimes your child's with you in the bathroom or that sort of thing. So, but I've been thinking about my legs need like some touch, and I didn't have time this morning, but I rarely do that. And then the acupressure points, or what I've learned from you, the energy gates, but sometimes I'll just find little points or trigger points really too. And I personally do a lot of yoga nidra, similar to what we did in Digesting the Universe with the belief thing. That's a part of yoga nidra. If that I love and learn, I rest, and you'll go through emotions in the body and the opposite, and then hold both of them. And the same with beliefs. And so I sit a lot with, because I use the time, my daughter likes me to lay down with her. And so sometimes I'm not ready to sleep. So using that time to kind of tune in. And one of the things I discovered for myself when you tune in is a lot of things I hold on the right side of the, like a limiting belief. And then actually the left side, where often my pain is, not so much anymore since I've been working through some things. Is more of the positive, more like, no, that wasn't true sort of thing, belief. So, which goes to the feminine and masculine as well, and father, mother lineages and that sort of thing. But yeah, so just those are the times when I take, I probably do it more than I admit, like taking the time with myself, because I think it's a priority. And I do it even when Josephine and my daughter is around. You should see her hitting her butt for energy gate 4
I love that, right? So, I mean, it's so,
She's so
it's
cute.
so important. And I know you and I have talked about this too,
Mhm.
that sometimes we have a story that there's certain things that we're not supposed to show our children.
Mhm.
One of the, I mean, our energy practice might be one thing, but emotions,
Mhm.
that's huge. Like
Mhm.
being able to show your child
Yeah.
healthy expression of emotion is so important because, you know, as luckily, I mean, for Josephine and many young children, they know that, but they're going to unlearn that. And one of the
Oh,
places
yeah.
they unlearn it is from us. If you're
Mhm.
hiding in your closet or in your bathroom or going for a drive when you have strong emotion to release versus you finding and playing with it
Mhm.
in their presence.
Yeah, yeah. And so Josephine, we'll see. 'Cause if I probably try to cry, or I do just do. I don't force it. Every other day, once a day, sometimes it just depends. But when I'm practicing qigong, the Dragon's Way qigong, especially since in your Digesting the Universe program right now, holding dragon stands for that 15, 20, 30 minutes, and especially during the fall, and there's a lot of letting go and grief and that's come up, and interesting things that have come up. Could be a whole nother little chat on Zoom. And so but I've been doing it at night while just watches some cartoons, because sometimes it's fitting it in my day. And when I feel like I need a nap, I do that with her. I know there are mothers out there who are jealous who don't get that time, but if you have it, take it, because there's always the wrestling. I've got to do the dishes. No, I need this. I need this.
Yeah.
And so one of the things is I've been kind of grieving or just releasing in some way. And now that she's talking, she would bring a Kleenex. She goes and climbs up on everything and goes and grabs the box. And then now she goes, "Don't cry, Mom." And gives me a Kleenex. And then I find all the Kleenexes all over the place. But that's a whole nother thing. But I tell her, Mommy's just got to let it go.
Yeah.
Mommy's just got to let it go. It makes me a better mom. And so that's what I'm teaching her, because there was a point where I felt, and I had to learn this myself, a little guilt of showing those strong emotions. And I think we had talked about this before. And I remember talking about it. I was in a parenting circle with ancestral medicine, and I just felt so guilty about that, especially the anger, frustration, emotions, which I needed to get out too. And then all the crying, and she's bringing a tissue, and I'm just like, I'm her mom, I'm supposed to be taking care of her. And they reminded me, it's okay, let her take care of you. And you're teaching her empathy and that sort of stuff. And so that kind of helped me shift. And now, like I said, I just tell her, I'm always going to let it out. And when she hurts herself, I hold her and say, just let it out. Because I notice it's like a tendency to try to hold it. It's that stop before the spring comes out, that sort of thing. And I'm just going, let's just let it out. Just let it out.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So before we close, I know I'm super excited. There's been a book that's been gestating.
Yes.
Do you care to speak to that? Just a little nugget of what that's going to be about?
So, well, I'll mention the title, but it could change. What I decided, and this was part of my personal growth, I was writing this, I downloaded a year ago. And I went through, I had focus downloading. I always wanted to write a book. I didn't want to exclude anybody. I've worked with women from all different shapes and sizes, and now I'm going to focus just on mothers. And I had to wrestle with that a little bit. And I was writing it. I was working with an editor. And as I started to do some personal development, I thought, I'm going to have a publisher. Somebody's, should pay me. I'm worth that to write this book. And so I started learning the whole process. So actually, I'm finishing my proposal, and it's called, like I said, it may change because publishers like to co-create the book with you. That's what I'm learning. It's called After the Glow, Facing the Shadow Side of Motherhood and Embracing Your Rebirth. Yeah. And so yes, it's there, and it weaves in all of the ways, as a yoga therapist, all the ways yoga therapy, and then of my experience with working with you and Grandmaster Nanlu's, work, all of those things, the feminine, weaved within there, of cultivating that self-awareness, seeing your child as a mirror, and even your dog as we talked earlier.
My pets, it happens.
Yes, totally.
I had to wonder why my cat was hanging from a chandelier.
It's time to go skydiving.
Yeah, right. I need to get a little more wild.
But those sort of things, that's why I look working with horses too, like they're mirrors, and you can know it, but you really know it, and then how to work through this stuff, and it is that process. Just as a side note, recently, as I was working through trying to move forward, and I was doing a practice from the book Wild Feminine of checking in with my pelvis, and it's been like this kind of through the pandemic, but I really noticed it was just black, like not in black like maybe the energy or the color of the kidney liver or kidney bladder, but just like stuck blackness, especially my right side of my pelvic bowl. And I was just like, wow, that's crazy. But it had to do that for me to break through. And so just teaching mothers and anyone who loves mothers and cares for mothers and children. So, the aunts and the grandmothers and the grandfather, the book is to help, cultivate facing that shadow, because it's not easy. And the semblance of having some semblance of a village and creating your own. So, yeah.
I'm so excited. I can't wait till the birthing happens. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, everyone.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.